You have now joined the A Couple Podcast Show. Let me introduce our hosts, Laura and Xavier.
Hello, everybody. Laura here.
And Xavier.
And yeah, so I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, first off, Happy New Year for everybody who came back.
Happy New Year. Oh, gosh. This is our first one This is our first recording of our wine of the year. Yeah.
But, last
minute as usual.
If you think about it, we hit like a really good, like kind of a weird bubble where we got on Christmas Day released. They got on New Year's Day and released. And New Year's Eve and released. So,
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We hit both the eves.
Yes. So we're hitting double holidays, which not too shabby. Not too shabby. No, that's the time that most people are, being nice and quiet. So but we still kept going. So
unless you're driving, then they're loud.
Exactly.
Or at a store.
Speaking of driving, you just went on a trip to Georgia?
Yes. Yep, I did. We live in Florida, and I went to northern Georgia. It was a little chilly, but it was fun.
Yeah. See, we've been enjoying the nice heat. Was it like 80 degrees here?
Yeah. No, I went up to, let's see. It was in the 50s during the day, I guess. But there was a pretty bit of a wind chill. And a couple of the days I was there, it was rainy. So that always cools things down, too. Well, it's not like Florida rain. It was like the mist kind of rain, like in a foggy.
Yeah.
So it was different.
I think we got a little in the 60s this morning.
I was. Well, this morning I looked at my weather on my phone and it said it feels like 32. Like, oh, brr. Do
you believe the feels like thing? I always feel like it's kind of a weird.
Well, all I know is I could see my breath when I breathed out. It was like doing that breath test. So I went to Helen, Georgia is where I went. So if anybody knows where that is, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it.
Oh. You had like tons of photos and
yes, yeah, we did all sorts of things. I did zip lining, which I've never done, so that was fun. Mm-hmm. Then we went to Anaruby Falls, and so I got to see the waterfalls there, which was really cool, and of course the river rapids and stuff. But way too cold to be in the river at this point. No, not happening. It was pretty to look at, but no, not getting in it. Then we did a lot of wine tasting and stuff, which I'm not a wine drinker. I'm not an alcohol drinker really at all anymore. And so that was interesting. I'm like going into these places and they're like, oh, what would you like to try? We have this and this, different kind of flights and samples and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I've maybe tasted 2 wines before in my entire life.
I think I was actually trying to ask questions and kind of get a detailed answer. So were these red wines, white wines, Sauvignon Blanc, Moscato, Riesling? And it's like, well, they were... What do you said? You said some names I had no idea what you were talking about. Yeah.
No, I found some likes and dislikes. The thing is, it's everybody's tastes are a little bit different, which is why they have so many different wines. Some people don't like wines at all, and then,
same for beers.
Yeah. And then the people who do like wines, some like red, some like white, some like somewhere in the middle, there's just a lot of, and then there's these things called ports, which are completely different apparently. And all of it is just how it's prepared and whatnot. And of course, even every winery, we went to 3 separate wineries in the Georgia area. All of them prepare and do all that stuff differently. So, it was really interesting. There are some I can say for sure I don't like, some that, aren't too bad. Could probably still safely say that overall, I'm not going to call myself a wine drinker.
All right.
But I do have 2 bottles of wine that I now get to go through because my mom bought them for me. And I'm really happy because they were good. I liked them. So I'll drink them. Maybe I'll become a wine drinker after I drink them. Of course, you're going to help me.
You're making it sound like you have to work up to do it. Like it's just
I have to prepare for everything and work up to everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just my personality.
Just like working up to actually what we're talking about. So we're almost 10 minutes in. No, we're not even 10 minutes in. So we got plenty of time. So what we wanted to talk about today was, I guess, automation and why.
Vehicle
how
automation.
Does this,
car.
Yeah, exactly. And why and how does this relate? Well, you went on a trip. And that trip took several hours.
Yes, it was from here to there, it was 8 to 9 hours give or take with traffic and stops and
that's a considerable amount of time. I mean, 8 or 9 hours. You're not just sitting there.
Straight there. We did it all in a day.
You use the restroom eventually.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Stops.
Yeah,
you have to fuel up the car and you have to unfuel yourself.
Exactly. But
pit stop for both.
But I think as we're getting closer to technology and getting into driving automation, which is extremely cool. And of course they have
we read about it a lot and hear about it a lot. Tesla obviously is a huge name in the whole automation thing, but there's others that Google and Uber both are trying out self-driving cars.
Oh yeah, they've been there and back.
I know. And there's been others too scattered throughout, but nothing huge yet. Over in Germany, I believe they're the ones that are doing the trucks, the big big SUV or not SUV, semi trucks.
Yeah. And
they have them on automation. So, they don't need drivers to drive them. There is aspects of it that are starting to pop up, and so it's interesting to see, because that's an area that really has not seen much of an update in a long time.
And that's the funny thing is going to throw, I guess, a couple of news factoid things. Anyways, or maybe this rumor mill. I remember one complaint that was coming from a group of people, and hopefully this got quieted down. But I thought it was just very interesting that this was even something that someone would bring up, because I think one person said, or a statement, that if cars can drive themselves, what people will do is they will have sex in the cars. And I was thinking, that's not stopping them now.
I know, it's kind of when people say that, the one I've heard a lot is, accidents are going to happen. Well, they already happen.
Exactly. That's not stopping it now.
Right? Human error is a huge factor in accidents that currently happen. So if we take that factor away and only put in computer error, which, while it happens less. Well, and you can fix it a lot easier
to control. You can find out the root cause of the problem. And actually, there was some people that were a bit nervous about. They are always going to be people nervous about change.
Yeah.
But there was an incident with Uber. There was the incident with Google because they hit somebody.
Yeah, but these are they have how many vehicles out there that are actually fully self-driving I never can say
automatons.
There we go. Yeah, whatever. I can never say autonomous. Autonomous. I don't know. Whatever. Anyhow, but there's so few of them that they're currently testing that and
you need that history. But here's the funny thing.
How many freaking accidents probably happened when Ford and all of them were going through making vehicles?
Or how many incidents where it happened that we don't hear about?
Oh, another horse was run over by these horseless vehicles.
Well, the thing with the instances you don't hear about, because the other ones, those make the news, but then you have all the evidence, the speed, who was driving, whether they were awake or not.
In one of them, this person jumped out in front of it, and there was no way even a regular person could. Honestly, it reacted quicker than a regular person would have reacted.
Yeah,
there was just no way.
Yeah,
but do people actually read the article to find that out? No. Instead, what they do is they look at just the headline.
Car hits person, and it is
that's exactly why I don't want them.
People are hitting people now, and that's not stopping.
I was reading the article on the other one. It's one of those where it could have been the fact that, maybe he just, because at this point, you still have to pay attention, to them. The other one was a Tesla accident, I believe, and it wasn't a fully self-driving, fully automated car. There was actually a driver in there. Yeah. And when you have a semi-automatic kind of driving car like that, or autonomous car, you still have to pay attention. You still have to pay attention. You don't have to necessarily have your hands on there. You don't have to have your feet on there. It's kind of like a powered up cruise control, but you still have to pay attention because stuff's going to happen. And from what I read, apparently there might have been where he glanced down, which we all do. And there we go. Just didn't see what was coming and didn't react. So, that happens whether they're autonomous or not. You know,
well, here's
we glance down, we look at something, and bam, you know.
Well, here's the thing I think we get out of those situations that we don't get from others. One is you get the video cam footage, you get the evidence of speed and whatnot. That actually,
it's like when a plane crashes. You know, you have that black box.
Exactly, a black box for crashes, which is something that we don't have now when people are crashing.
Yep, we guess.
Exactly. Like, maybe they were drunk. Yeah. Maybe they were sleeping.
There's some things. Yeah, there's some things that you might be able to kind of piece together, but still, they'll like look at the tire marks and like maybe
exactly
this.
like so it comes like you're trying to CSI or this in your mind, like when you have like all the evidence, like, oh, we know exactly kind of what happened here. We know it happened, but now we know exactly what happened and led to the moment where we're crashing right now, and we were missing so much data. And what the autonomous vehicles, they can take that data and then improve upon it. We can't take our data from nothing and improve upon ourselves.
Well, plus even the things that we do improve upon, like, oh, let's, put a different speed limit in there or add a stop sign or whatever.
Because those are somewhat helpful.
Yeah, exactly. People don't actually adhere to it, or they don't stop fully, or, whatever. They just ignore it.
Or they do adhere to it and still get in crashes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, we can't fix human error or human reactions, but you can fix the computer.
To many certain degrees. Now, I can see like there's going to be some pain points because just like when back in the day, everybody, remembers an older computer of some type. It wasn't as fast as what you currently, are using. There were plenty of bugs, viruses, errors, or something pop up that just didn't make it work right.
Just really, 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 really slow.
Exactly. And I think that's...
Remember with dial-up with the AOL or...
I think that's where we're hitting with the cars. It's like we're in a dial-up era as far as like the automation. Like, of course, things are going to be very clunky. Of course, it's going to be incidents. We're already clunky. We're worse options to have us do it. But we're in the dial-up phase. So I think a lot of kind of just patience will definitely be needed. But I want to bring this question because you on your trip that was 8 hours going there and back. How nice would it have been since you were there with your family, mom, sister, just to be in a vehicle, like little bubbles, little shell, and you just spend that time just conversating, just telling the vehicle, okay, we need to take a break. It finds the next break. Just imagine how nice that would be and how much of a better experience or less stressful of a situation just to have all three of you just kind of just taking a trip, like being driven.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can still chit chat and stuff like that to a degree. But there are moments like going through Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bit stressful for, the driver and for all of us because we're all like, oh, my God,
You just gotta imagine like entering a city of some sort.
A big city. I mean, Atlanta is not a small city. It's a big city.
So all of a sudden your 2 lane turns into 5 and your 5.
Oh yeah, I think there was 10. Like probably 6 or more at one point. And then it's not even just like your lane, but then you've got like overpasses and other craziness going on or all around you.
Just imagine flipping that experience entirely. No one's on the wheel. You're just sitting back. This vehicle's got it, knows where it needs to go. And this stressful situation becomes you're looking at all the whiny road. I know this may sound like, simple things for people now, but if you're not behind the wheel and you're totally confident that, your vehicles can get from point A to point B, just like you've been on a monorail or you've been to like a ride at Disney or name your theme park, it's an entirely different experience. You're not stressed. You're just sitting back, kick back, and just watching what happens out there. And I mean, I would love to just be in a car. If I'm going to be in a trip for, let's say, 12 hours or more, break open like a card game, a board game, or maybe even, with technology now, an online console video game while we're playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like another dynamic that I think they really need to attach to as a goal that we want to achieve when it comes to automation. Certainly.
And to me, like one of my biggest things that I use as a plus to the idea of having this, to get past all the negatives everybody has in their heads of it, like think about the people who right now maybe can't drive themselves because, they're blind or, they can't actually operate the vehicle for one reason or another. There are a lot of things that we can add to vehicles to make it so that those who maybe have
disabled in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but not everybody, and so they're older, the senior
people who are also deaf.
Like
too. They can clearly see.
Well, deaf people can
can drive too.
Yeah, they can and do drive. That one's a little bit. You don't always need to hear what's going on around you as long as you're very aware. Using your eyes. Obviously, having that extra.
Well, I guess there's the extra comfort that you would get just being inside of like a vehicle. It's the one thing you don't have to worry about today.
Well, yeah, I mean, and for anybody, but I feel like those are the pluses that people don't always think about. Even my grandmother, she is not allowed to drive anymore. So she's kind of relies on other people to take her places. And that has taken away a huge thing for her. She's still capable of understanding things and figuring things out and still capable of taking care of herself for the most part, but she's, it's a little unsafe for her to be behind the wheel at this point.
Yeah.
Especially in the big city she lives in, so it's one of those things that it would be awesome if she could still have that, the capability, that independence to be able to still go around from place to place. And I mean, it won't happen in her lifetime, unfortunately, but maybe by my lifetime when I'm old and I can't drive anymore.
Here is the hoping.
Right?
Here's what I kind of suspect will happen eventually is through automation, especially the vehicle time, that we'll see people travel more and maybe to visit their family more, making families a lot closer, or just helping, let's say, people migrate and change and go to different cities a little more often. I mean, it's kind of hard. Let's say for us, it's kind of hard to picture a situation where we need to go to New York for any reason. But if it was just, sitting down for a little bit, taking a couple breaks every now and then, we probably would make that trip a little more often.
Well, and if you think about it too, if we had that, would speed limits be as low as they currently are, or would we be able to actually travel at maybe faster speeds,
or could there be a digital rule for speeds in certain areas, if this then that? That's kind of how code
technically works. You wouldn't even need to stop at a hotel on the way. You could just go straight through.
Exactly, yeah. Or even there was one video that was explaining it, but it makes a lot of sense. You wouldn't really need stop signs. If they understand, you can just
stoplights.
Exactly. They know how many cars are coming in there. Everything's automated.
It'd be probably would need something with air traffic control, with airplanes and stuff. You still have these sections where, and maybe even with cars, there should be a bit of a hub. So, if you're on a private jet plane, you have to you only go so far, and then you have to stop, and most of that's because of gas, but you have to stop at some point and and fuel up and do whatever. But having something like that for vehicles, like a pit stop, so that they can be checked. And
I think that's one thing. One thing I see as a weakness now with the way we're growing it is Tesla's working on their own thing, Uber's working on their own thing, Google's working on their own thing, and they're kind of acting as if they're competing in each market. So that to create a centralized unit, let's say your airport has with planes, it seems like something that would be against what they would want to do. But I think that's exactly what they need.
But all the airplanes are owned by different people, and they're all different companies. So somehow we were able to figure it out for that. We should be able to figure it out for the automotive industry, too.
Exactly.
I mean, they still make money off of, their airplanes, and they still charge different prices, and they're all different.
But I think in a way there was what I think they have as an advantage that we've seen, especially the last couple of years, is that when because lawmakers are probably one of the big responsible parties to make that happen, to make it.
Well, there it goes. Never going to happen.
I mean, it could be possible. I mean, as our generations get older,
I'm a cynic when it comes to our government.
Oh, well, that's one
I hope for the best.
That's why we're wishing for our lifetime. That maybe so somebody in there is like, I've done computers before, but the problem is that they didn't understand. They could understand routes and how airplane traffic needed to work and why it was important to have an air traffic controller situation and kind of making certain leeways and benefits in order to have that be a thing. So different, air companies or plane companies can
the thing
do
is
business.
And we've talked about this, I think, in our last episode, or recently at least. But, where the problem is when it comes to tech and it comes to this new frontier, the people that are in charge of those laws, they can't even carry a basic conversation about like phones, let alone the complexity that comes into play when it comes to, autonomous vehicles and having a hub and a full-on operating system roadway,
yes.
Yeah, roadway everywhere. Because, really right now, roads are taken care of by the city or by the county. And, so every county, every city, every state, they do it differently.
Yes.
So really, the thing that needs to be combated is that we need, I guess, some sort of one national people to take care of the roads. And I cannot imagine that ever happening.
Let's say it could be done. This is like now with the people that are in office now. Here's the way I kind of see it happening now is they would just pick and choose. Okay, since of all the companies that we see are making advances, I think Tesla should do all the routing for all the companies. And then they kind of rub their hands and do an evil grin. I kind of think that's what they would do. They would pick and choose, and we've seen that happen a lot. There's maybe Google should run since they already have a GPS unit.
Are you kidding? Government Motors is going to be in charge.
Yeah, Government Motors. We'll make the maps. They'll be broken and they'll never get updates.
I don't mind GM at all, but the thing is, it's really in a capitalism society, they should have failed. They failed, and now we paid for them. So sorry, this off topic, I guess, but
we're trying to be non-political here.
I'm not political. What are you talking about?
But what we've expressed is that we don't trust a certain areas in politics. I don't see, but what I do see.
No. See, the thing is, I don't trust them to do the best thing for the American people. But I do trust them. Interest. I do trust them to do the best things for them.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So, I don't want to crash myself. So, but that's actually that's exactly how I see what happened. I don't really want the crash. But my iPhones work so well, and I believe they have a map. Maybe they can take control of this automation thing for everybody and make sure everybody's on the right track. And I can see a lot of people go, no, you don't want to do that. And then you just telling Apple to dictate, and there are already a weirdness around their products and their ecosystem.
I don't think that would work out very well for them to take a company, and I don't think they would do that because technically
all these for them to fathom though for their minds to understand. It'll be hard for them to understand. You need to create another landscape for all platforms to do business.
Considering how well our government has already done with certain websites that launched. And lots of people went on it, and they crashed.
Not just us. Yeah, not just us too. Britain's had a rough time. I'm not Britain. EU. The EU's had a rough time
Brexit.
too. Yes. Oh my God. So it's not just us. In India too. I think that they're in dire straits, but there's a lot going on.
If you
everywhere.
if you look at the roadways all over the world. There was some craziness that goes on.
Yes.
I remember, I don't know where it was at, but there was this one where these multiple intersections of roads coming into one intersection, and they are all in it's like Tetris or something, or those games where you have to move the blocks around and try to figure a way to get this other block up, and so you have to. It's just it was insane, and these were all vehicles and cars, and I'm going what? How do they drive? I'd walk.
They just pray, hope he gets somewhere.
Right.
But going back to the automation thing, here's something else I think is that automation would change how the roads would be constructed in the future.
Oh yeah, they'd have to.
Think about the invention of the car changed how roads were made.
Yeah.
Improving that or making it
before they were dirt roads, so the horses could,
exactly. Remember those
go on them.
Those intersections that would be so dangerous that cause so many accidents, and all of a sudden they go from killing maybe 5 people a year to 0, and it continuing being that for a couple of years. There's going to be a couple of let's say I see some crazy roads coming out of that. and maybe some better scenarios coming out of that too. So, you getting.
See, every time I think about the autonomous vehicles and them driving along and stuff like that, I always think of that movie iRobot. And, there's a scene where he takes control of one of the autonomous vehicles, and causes all sorts of freaking chaos. And I'm like, yep, see, that's exactly the way it goes. It's all good and orderly until the person comes behind the wheel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yes. I think that's the one fear is okay, we get it done. We get it checked. We got the best, automation vehicle lineup ever. And then, Billy needs to go somewhere. He has the one car that still is a regular car. And, or it's just like, maybe just a lot of people just can't get rid of their current cars because that could be a thing.
Yeah.
A very realistic thing. And then you are now having a computer doing more than just its job, but now a triple load of the job because now it has to be, predicting what people will do.
Well, in all honesty, I don't think everybody will need to own their own vehicle. It'd be more like a
subscription base.
Yeah. When you need a vehicle, hey, you call it and it comes to you. And I feel like Uber and Lyft and all of those car riding services are kind of creating a way
a platform for that. The future.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And, honestly, all innovation works that way. There is something that creates it to lead into another thing. I mean, our cars were created because of, horsepower and actual horses pulling carriages and things like that.
Yeah, our barns turned into garages.
Yeah, exactly. But they're all still very, you can look at the ways they used to be, and you can see how it transformed into what it currently is.
Exactly.
Especially when you look, I don't know. I mean, I lived in a town where you could walk into Edison Home. And I grew up there. And so, it was one of those where I went through the museum and you could see, Henry Ford and Edison were Thomas Edison. Yeah. They knew each other and stuff. And so there were some of his vehicles there. So, they very much, when they were first created, looked like a horse carriage.
Yeah. I mean, of course, as someone who's selling it, what do people know? Do they know what? Could you imagine if I don't know, I'm just going to name a vehicle that we're not sponsored by, Honda Odyssey, that's out there during the day? That would have been what the heck is this? It's an egg. What is? I mean, it has wheels on it. Do you push it? I mean, so I can imagine they kind of needed that slow transition from what they were into what they were going to become.
Even our technology has worked that way. Somebody first created, the first computer, and then it kind of, all of the rest of them have then developed from there. Our phones, just another way of, developed from that computer, so it's it all, in a way, you can see how it connects to each other. And, and we almost always use things that are, we can still kind of understand it, and it's similar to something else.
Yes. Mouse. How about that? The mouse. The reason why the mouse is called the mouse is kind of a creepy thing to think about, that you grab an actual mouse and then you click on it and go there. But it was just a kind of way to represent this odd shaped thing with buttons on it. And I think that way, if you look at the automation cars, I think there was a design. I'm not sure what company, and I don't really care. That's not an important detail. But they put out their concept model, and what it looked like was a bus. It's actually your personal bus. You can get in it, you can stand in it, you can sit down in it, you can have a little party in it. But it was their concept for an automation vehicle. You tell it where it needs to go, and you kind of sit in the back row or read your book or something like that, and it just kind of gets you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But that design, getting people to the idea of thinking, why am I, to get off the idea of a personal car to a kind of a vehicle that you can stand and sit down. I can see why they went with the bus idea to kind of make that connection of, this is kind of something that you're not going to be at the wheel. Most people who ride buses aren't at the wheel. Yeah. So a bus design makes sense to kind of make that transfer over to the new era. Am I making a stretch here? Or...
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you're following.
you hear it, I'm dropping down.
Yeah. I understand you, but then I've been with you for a while, so I tend to understand you. So I would not be the person to ask.
Okay, crowd. Hopefully I made some sense there. What I'm trying to say is that, buses make that little logical standpoint of,
Either way, I mean, for certain, what we see right now is just a very
glimmer
small.
of what, yeah.
You know, it's testing the markets, testing the products. You know,
we're in the dial-up phase of automation.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's like the first time. You know, I say this all the time, but the very first computer that came out, I'm pretty darn sure those people had no idea that what we have now is what would come of that.
Oh,
so
I mean, there's so many different lines, especially when if you're in IT, you're studying for it, you're in computer technology, CIT, you're going to hear all these lines and quotes as you study. But there's so many. I know from I think Bill Gates said, like, you know, he doesn't see a need for us to be over like a certain amount of kilobytes or megabytes and will ever be needed. And here we are putting, you know, teraflops of data into computers.
Yeah, I remember storing things on floppy disks and stuff like that. Like,
God.
That was very popular when I was.
Yeah.
Although I just learned about something new. Apparently, they had these like things called video disks, which are kind of like records, but they're
Baymax or I think something I cannot think of.
I don't know, but apparently they didn't last very long. We found them at an antique store. There weren't many of them, but there were a few, and they lost the battle. They were in and amongst all these records, you know. So it was like people probably thought they were just records, but my mom was like, "Yeah, no, these aren't actually records. They don't play music or whatever." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I have no idea what this is, but all right."
And that's the thing about this, the changes that we've seen already, like from buying cassettes. And I bought cassettes. I didn't buy records when I was a kid. I bought cassettes. Yeah. And then going from cassettes to CDs. And then
my parents had a record player. And me and my sister loved playing records on the record player. But yeah, for me, my first very technology, I guess, was cassettes. You know, I just remember them.
I had the Animaniacs.
It was like that old person thing was the record player. Well, this is the old people's thing.
Yeah, like I'm not old. I play cassettes.
I mean, I grew up. I think I was like 9 or 10 when we got our first computer. Maybe a little younger than that. I was somewhere around there. 8 to 10.
I think around the same age for me too. I still think about the cassette thing, but
it was the coolest thing in the world.
I remember my room had a radio, so I can listen to the radio in my room. Mm-hmm. He had a TV and he had a radio. That right now is something that's absent in our entire house. Actually, no, we do have a radio. We have the clock alarm thing that we never really used that part of it. But I remember having a radio so I can listen to music with my cassette player. In case I saw a song and you had to run up to it and press the record button. Now, Spotify, iTunes, you name it. I don't download or anything like that. I use the service.
I remember the first time I got like the Walkman or whatever. You could put the cassette player into there. You had hooked up your headphones into it, and I could carry it with me. This is heavy little sucker. I mean, it was like carrying a brick.
Yeah, but you had a little strap around it in case you wanted to carry it in your hand, like in case you want to punch somebody, like boom, like that. That's why they call me Walkman. You better walk, man.
And then, of course, the next progression from that was the CD player that you could actually like carry that CD thing with you.
If you want to get really special, had anti-skip.
Yeah, right. Only for the rich people.
The hoity-toity people, like, oh my goodness, my anti-skip. Watch this, shake, shake, and it was still skip, but he's like, it didn't do that bad.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is though, like, I love watching movies like Pretty Woman and stuff because in Pretty Woman you can see a scene where she's in the hoity-toity neighborhood and all that, and a guy and his son are in a car, and the guy has his like cell phone that is attached to his car, huge cell phone thing, and the kid's holding one too. And those were real. My dad had something like that.
Talking about those are real means, okay, here's I was in one of those cars. We had the first Mercedes Benz with my dad in the car.
I mean, the fact that Richard Gere's character had an actual cell phone, like, that was during a time where only really, how many people did?
And pagers.
That was a bigger thing.
Yeah,
I had a pager.
Yeah, well, I never had a pager. That seemed like it's a level of I just didn't really. But for me, that's like the tablets. I as much as I'm in the tech, I do know there is a use for some people. It's never been a use for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I wasn't driving before cell phones. I actually I'm pretty sure I got my first cell phone when I actually started driving because my mom wanted to be able to like stay in contact with me and stuff. But I had a pager for because I started working before I ever started driving, but my sister would usually drive me. And so I had a pager so that my mom could like get a hold of me and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure I did. I remember having a pager, whether I used it or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't know. But
I'd have to ask my mom. She'd probably remember.
I remember my dad had a pager on him, and similar situation for work and stuff like that.
Yeah, my dad had one too. Maybe that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, but I never quite understood the real need for one. And that was
just another way. It's kind of like a text of sorts.
Exactly. It didn't really fit my need and what I would ever need it for, which is like right now. There's a brand new Apple tablet that bends free of charge.
The tablet's not free of charge. The bending is.
The bending is free of charge. The tablet, yes, is a premium. But that market for the tablets, I think we even got one like for free or whatever. Mm-hmm. It just never worked out as like a practical device to kind of pick up and use for work or for anything else. And even as a drawing tablet, it wasn't good enough for even that.
See, that's why and cell phones have always been like a little too small for me. Mm-hmm. So I think like for me, and I guess for you too, since you have one now, we have the Notes. And, and that is, it's a big freaking cell phone, but at the same time, it's like a really small tablet too. I can do everything I need to do on that. It does all the things the cell phone does, and it does all the things the tablet does. And I don't need anything else.
And right now they're working on like tablets that act kind of like laptops, and laptops that can not kind of act like tablets.
Yeah. Technically my laptop is like that. I can like bend it backwards and it could be like a tablet.
Wait, okay.
And it's touchscreen too, which I never use.
That is
Hardly
true.
Sometimes I do.
Okay, but past that, you use it like it's a laptop. You don't use it like a tablet. And
it is a laptop.
Well, exactly, but like it can be used in like a shape of a tablet, but
it's
the way you're
2-in-1, I guess, kind of.
Exactly. I guess like here's my thing with technology. Like it should be working in the way the form factor is. Like the form factor should help how you use it. If I want to search for something on the internet and I have my phone available, searching it the way that it's used on the phone should be easier that way. I shouldn't have to go into like a web a version that looks like a desktop mode on my phone in order to make it easier. And I think that's where the tablet doesn't really fit too well, because I feel like if I use a desktop mode on a tablet, I can move better than the tablet mode.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest gripe right there.
Well, it's very true. The reason that we have mobile websites is because on a mobile phone, it's a lot smaller. So you're kind of, and usually most of the time we're quickly trying to find information. So it's all kind of scrunched together to accommodate us.
Exactly.
But there are times where, like Amazon's mobile site, I absolutely hate. So I always go, and click that whole full site, although they've made it a lot more difficult for me to get to their full site now, which drives me nuts. So if I'm on my mobile phone, I have to like save the Amazon full site.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like they used to have it where I could scroll to the bottom and like, continue to full site. And there's some that do that, but they don't have it there anymore. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I want it back. Amazon.
But they're not listening to us. I'm pretty sure Amazon.
They should.
Is Amazon on line one? Is that? I have a feeling that they're probably,
everyone should listen to us.
They're missing on this meeting. Actually, I would like to see Amazon get into the automation game. That would be very interesting.
They really kind of already are. They've got that whole idea with the drones, and dropping off packages.
Yes.
Technically the automation that we were talking about last time with the grocery store and things like that, they are already getting into it. I'm pretty freaking sure they're going to jump into it if they aren't already somewhere behind the scenes, because they are like have dipped their toes into everything.
There was the crazy idea, I think it's almost been 3 years back, when they was talking about having the drone delivery thing, which didn't happen because there was a lot of other fears.
But they're still that might not have worked out, but I do know that they're still working on ways to do something like that.
Yep. And then shortly after we start having like the idea of can the people who deliver open your door and put your boxes in there,
or even the lockers that you can go to. I mean, we have one that's not very far away that we can drive to at a gas station and go and get our locker if we're not going to be home. They can drop it off there, and it's safe.
both, here's something funny. Both of those seem like extremely crazy ideas, and then like not too long before the
sometimes
end.
The craziest ideas end up being the most practical, and
but not too long before the end of 2018. We got that video with the guy, and he had the cell phone
glitter
trap.
blow.
Yes, and people kind of saw the practical purpose because things get stolen all the time.
Yes, that happens a lot.
Oh my God.
Some neighborhoods worse than others. And, the thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of neighborhood you're in, good, bad, somewhere in the middle. It happens everywhere. Yeah.
The people who are stealing, those thieves, they don't look like your Ren and Stimpy cartoon characters. I guess Tom and Jerry, what I meant to say. Tom and Jerry cartoon character
I don't think Ren and
crooks.
Stimpy ever stole anything.
Yeah, there was they had like a little sweet looking couple, an older couple that was just going there and just grabbing people's boxes, like just having a day of it. Like, what the heck? I feel like I just used the same line from the YouTube thing. It's kind of weird how that works. Anyway, but automation, I would like to say, would be very interesting if they actually start getting to the car route. That would be kind of weird for Amazon, but I could see it being an actual thing. So if they actually have
they're getting into delivery, so
yeah.
I mean, they are in delivery, but I mean, like delivering grocery things and stuff like that. So I mean, it would make sense. They wouldn't have to pay the drivers anymore. They would just have to figure out a way to get it from the car to the door.
Exactly. No, there'll be a drone from car to door. There'll be a car. I can see this now. I can see this now. Like, there goes the Amazon car. It has a freaking helicopter on top of it. Drop it. Run away. Or have like a little knock on door thing. Knock.
Who knows?
Okay, we're just spitballing at this point.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, we're still far way away from it, but they are starting to dive into that. And I feel like instead of being fully against it, we should really try to like see the potential in it.
I think joining the conversation is definitely like the right.
Yeah, and not being fully against it. Like most of the people I talk to, they just like, oh, it's going to be more dangerous.
Or no.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, but there's so much middle ground there.
Yeah, I mean, there's things I don't want them to get too advanced with, like actually, when it comes to the automation thing, I think that like the part I kind of fear is the companies kind of taking in different areas, all of them kind of splitting off and not kind of sharing the goods that this one have. So if like this one may have the best at getting you to get to your destination on time. This may have the best at getting you there, but it's gonna it can communicate with other cars or something like that, and so we won't get the best vehicle, and that's kind of like how I feel like we don't get the best cell phone now because everybody has to have their own niche and advancement that's kind of separate from the others.
Yeah, that's kind of the capitalism thing, though. So, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Very true. Very true.
Competition is a huge part of capitalism, and capitalism is a huge part of America.
But we do need like a way, I think, that we need to have it so we can have our minds combine and join and strengthen everybody as a whole. So almost like a public place, like, hey, we found this thing out. Hey, guys in Google, Intel, or whoever, this is this new thing on there. See if you guys can implement it in any way. We need a group that just goes, hey, guess what? We are just the advancement group. We found something out. You guys want to use it? You can, and just go with it. And I would like to see.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I talked about this on one of our podcast episodes or not, but I have had this conversation with you. Mm-hmm. And, about how, okay, instead of holding on to this, these patents or these copyrights or, and not wanting anybody to see them or to use them and to, instead of doing that, which I get why we do that because, you want to protect what's yours. But why not sell that? Like, if somebody wants to use some, Taylor Swift's music, they can purchase the rights to that and then use it. So why can't we do that with certain...
Or make it easier than that. I mean, it just mean like literally make it so like, okay, this is Taylor Swift music. You want to download it. It costs this much price or whatever. You want to use it for your concert or whatever. Well, it costs this much. And it just doesn't... We don't have like a set standard like site that's built for... Well, I guess we do have some sites that kind of work that way.
But not for like what I'm talking about is expanding that beyond just the music, business, and into other things. So like, you have a patent for a really cool friggin' like high tech chip or something, like you could, instead of just using that for one company, you could then sell it to like multiple companies, and they will still all use it in different ways because they're different companies. But that person who then created it gets the money for it, and for each one of those companies and everything that they put it in, nice, and everything that they sell.
A nice clean way where they can be portioned out that like you can go ahead and do that. You can sell it. I just get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay me. Just when you sell it and it gets successful and it works for you, without even have to think.
And I don't even just mean like a person too, like companies, like, Apple created this cool high tech thing, but instead of sharing it with the world, they're hoarding it, or, Microsoft or any of the companies out there.
Yeah.
Like if they create something, if they come with this huge breakthrough, make it available, but, at a price. Right. I mean, I feel like that could be worth it, and that could help out as a whole.
Exactly. The idea, I think,
we don't want to stop at advancement.
Exactly. We want to continue advancing, and I think that we've hit I think a pretty good amount of time here. Okay. And I want to say to everyone, we want to just give like all positivity for this new coming year. We're going to need it. And I think after being through 2018 and 2017 and a bit of 2016, I think what we need is a comeback, and that's a good right punch to whatever is holding us back. And so this is our kind of a hoorah to you and everyone else, to kind of get back on our feet, get back there and show this year what we made of.
I mean, the thing is, it's that whole simple saying of just take one step at a time, one day at a time, and we'll get it, we'll get there.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, and it's hard to take an extra step every day, but if you do it, it'll be worth it. I mean, all these dreams that, we have, I mean, even, Xavier and I, we have all these things that we want to do, but, we don't know where to start. I mean, just start, it's
my God. Yeah. That's like rule number one.
Of course, it's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
Because you could probably fail, and you probably will fail, but if you don't try, you'll never succeed.
Was like something I don't, I guess, talk about too much on our podcast. But I was big into dancing. I guess I still like it. But
he's still really good at it.
Oh, thank you.
So says the person who has two left feet.
But past that point, like here's what I'm trying to convey is that dancing is very like when you start out, you're in front of a group of people. It's very scary, and I think that feeling for most people that can kind of translate into like starting this project you want to do. YouTube, Twitch, or maybe some kind of business you want to start. And I use those. Writing a book. Yes. and kind of is going like, oh, people are going to see this. And like, I
mean, it could like even stop the creativity, stop you from even finishing what it is you're wanting to do. It's like a brain lock. It just shuts you down. But it's just like the easiest thing you do is you know what? This is what I thought about. Is the short tippy toppy footsteps. It makes no sense, but it was a way to continue moving, and when you can't move, so like if you can't you do something. It's like if you can't run, leap, or jump, just take the small little crawl steps you need to, and just walk your way, crawl your way over to it. And it doesn't matter if you stumble and fall. Like I mean. I was in the military, and I used to run, 2, 3, 6 miles sometimes. I hated it, but I used to do it, and we had an incline in Colorado Springs. If anybody is from there and knows it, it's really hard. It's big steps up a mountain.
Yes.
And, it's not easy. So I used to do those things. And, probably last year for most of the year, I would take a flight of stairs up and I would be out of breath. It would be very hard for me. And, this
is where
trip,
I'm at now.
Yeah. Well, this trip though, I took with my mom and sister, we took this, it was only a 0.4 trip or mile trip, at least one direction. We had to also go back, but we went up, not a mountain or anything, but it was at an incline pretty much the entire way. and I made it up the damn thing. It was hard and my body hurts, but I did it. And I went ziplining, which was pretty cool, which they have a weight limit that, again, middle of last year, I would not have been able to do ziplining. So, the thing is, it's like there is, whether you fall, whether you get off, whether you used to be able to do something, not do something, you just have to keep trying at it, and keep making little changes. A little change every day will get you pretty far in the long run. Yeah.
For like a small little change, I have been off of cigarettes for over a year now. Yeah. Small change there. I mean, year, yay, I know it's not that big, and people be doing like, I'm 20 years and I'm clean. Like, okay, whatever. But still, that's pretty big. I mean, that was stuck on it for almost 10 years. Actually, I think about 10 years. Yeah, about 10 years. And so a year is a pretty big leap for me, and kind of continuing on that trek.
And I can say he smells much better.
It's very easy. I know that's something that happens when you stop smoking. So for you smokers out there, if you're really looking to switch, the smell is amazingly better. People just come to you, but it didn't go to you before.
Right.
All right. Let's wrap this up. So we gotta go. Yep. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, take it easy.
See ya.